What's up, guys? This is the Gospel according to Mark with a C. He is I, and I am he. Just taking some time to tell you exactly what's on my mind. Thank you for joining me once again, my friends. Hope all is well with you. Now, guys, I want to talk to you a little bit about Director X. I noticed he's been on a few streams this past week. God knows he was begging enough, so a few people finally let him in, and I'm happy for him. I'm happy for them. I'm sure they got a good amount of views off of that. One of the ones who interviewed him would be my friend Anzo over at Biggerford Entertainment. He did a great interview with him. I'm going to leave the link to that in the pinned comment below. It is remarkable to me. I want to talk about this because for one, he actually did mention me by name in this interview, and he pretty much blew me off and my concerns and stuff like that. And he made it seem like somehow I was afraid to talk to his ass on my channel. But let me just get one thing straight right off the bat before I make the point that I want to make here. Nobody's fucking afraid of you, bro. All right. Honestly, if I had to tell you exactly the reasons why, I mean, and I shouldn't have to because I did this on one of my last videos. Everybody knows the reasons why I'm not having you on my channel. I broke it down pretty well, I think, if I do say so myself. But at this point, I don't even think that you're interesting to talk to. You're just more of an interesting case study. And that's the reason why I continue to talk about you, because you're a real cautionary tale, I think, for future creators. I'm talking about producers, directors, things like that, especially black ones who pretend like they really care about the community and stuff like that. That's their thing. That's their little gimmick, you know. That's the thing that they put out there, their little calling card. And the point is here, all right, is that I say this because something he said very interesting, all right? And and it was easy to point out something he said interesting because most of what he said was not. It was pretty basic. He pretty much hits play on every interview that he's in, and he says the same thing, hits the same talking points. Nobody ever really challenges him in this way. But he said to the critique that the show perpetuates negative stereotypes in terms of the absentee father. He pretty much blew that off, you know, talking about, man, people don't really care about that stuff. But then by the end of it, he kind of implied that they never really discussed that in the writing room. Like, it's not even something that they considered. You know what I mean? And I think that that is more telling than anything else, you know, because it was the same way with the other guy, Nate, what was his name? Nate Dogg? Nate White? I don't know what his name was. But the guy who was also writing Black Panther 2, where he said they never considered recasting. They never considered whether or not it was the right or wrong thing to do to kill T'Challa and to take that character away from all of the impressionable young black kids who really, really loved and needed that character. So I see this constant, you know, and I see this tendency to not really give a whole lot of thought about the so-called people that you say you're trying to represent and that you're trying to serve. That's the reason why I have to talk the way that I do. Some people wonder why I might be a little bit too abrasive, maybe too theatrical, maybe too dramatic, because usually you have to offend people to get their attention, to get them to look twice at you. You know, especially if you're a black YouTube content creator, because of course, the white YouTube content creators are exactly the ones that he zeroed in on. Those are the ones that he wanted to talk to the exclusion of the very community that he claimed to be representing. You see what I mean? That's what I'm talking about. Why is it so hard for black producers, directors, people who make these movies and TV shows? Why is it so hard to really consider the audience that you're supposed to be representing, that you're virtue signaling about? Why is it so hard to consider the welfare of these people and what might be the best for them? Those people who are starved for a positive image. We are at the point of almost epidemic when it comes to death in the so-called black communities around the world. Definitely in the United States where I live. And when you're like that, when your community is in a state like that, every aspect of pop culture becomes vital. It becomes important and significant. So nothing is ever just a TV show. Nothing is ever just a song, because we internalize a lot of things. We have a problem with our image. We have a problem with loving each other. So everything that we ingest, everything that we read, all of it is significant to us. So when you start asking questions about why is it that you chose to represent this family as being fatherless? Why is it that you chose to represent this young lady as being promiscuous to the point where she would need a jar full of condoms? Well, I believe in safe sex. I told you on the other video, it's more about self-esteem, but you would have to care first. Why is it so hard to just admit that you fell short with considering what you were putting on the screen? You don't have to be so defensive. You don't have to take offense to it. Just admit you could have done better. But that's another source of frustration for me, because you see, these people never want to admit that they could have done something better. They are so narcissistic, they never want to accept constructive criticism. I've seen this guy on about 3 or 4 different streams. He never cops to being able to or having the desire or even acknowledging that he could have done something different. It has to be the haters. That's the response to everything. They're just haters. They went into hate. Do you know how frustrating that is for somebody like me who doesn't go into it to hate? But that's your response. This is what I'm talking about. When you choose to zero in on the so-called racist people, and I've been saying this as far back as Star Wars, Star Trek, and everything, they always want to hide behind the racist thing. Racist people will always be there. Hateful people will always be there. If you choose to spend your whole creative career chasing after the haters, you'll never elevate as an artist if you don't listen to constructive criticism. But you're so busy zeroing in on that it drowns out, and it takes away from your ability to even be able to distinguish between what's constructive criticism and what's hatred. Just like I was talking about on that last video, when that guy was talking about how Star Wars is being bombarded by white supremacists and things like that. They even said in that video, it gets hard to be able to distinguish between what's legitimate criticism and what's hatred. And that's what we have going on here, because you people disproportionately want to focus on what you consider to be the hateful voices, to the point where you can't even address real criticism. And that's disturbing to me, guys, because like I said, these people are influencers, whether they like it or not. This guy downplays his own art by saying, oh, it's just a low budget Canadian show for young adults. Dude, do you think young adults, number one, are just so dumb? It's like, I have a 15-year-old who wouldn't touch this show if it were the last show on TV. He's 15 years old. That would be your target audience, perhaps. You know, he's young, you know, and everything. But these kids know when something doesn't ring true. And that's what I'm saying. This is where we're failing them, because we're not giving them something real. We're not giving them something to aspire to. What's wrong with showing an intact, strong family? You can't answer for that? You can't address that? You can't talk about that? What's going on with this industry when that's the reality of the situation? When you actually cannot honestly talk about what can uplift your community. If you're in a position where you can produce such a thing and you can't even talk about it, we don't stand a chance. And this is the reason why I come across the way that I do, because it's frustrating to me to see that people want to go elsewhere. You know, it's like you can go on somebody else's stream. Well, I knew them. I was subscribed to them. Well, you didn't know the black YouTube creator. You didn't know him because you didn't seek him out. You know what I mean? How are these things supposed to grow? How are these channels and platforms supposed to grow if we don't support one another? You know, it's just like how in the black community, we spend our money outside of the community, and so the community never gets built up. You know what I'm saying? It's the same thing. If you don't spend your time, if you don't spend your money, if you don't spend your attention, if you don't spend your dialogue in your community, then you're cultivating nothing. You continue to go outward, but change can only come from inside. It can only come from inward. That's the thing. You know, so you can blow me off all you want to. You know, you can sweep all of these concerns under the rug if you want to. You can keep chasing after these so-called haters if you want to. But in the meantime, we're not doing anything to advance the art that we so desperately want to get credibility for, that we so desperately want to grow and get acknowledgement. It's not going to happen. You know what I mean? Like, you can do all of this race swapping and stuff like that. You can say that, oh, it's Robin Hood. It's not like it's Batman or Superman, he says. For some reason, he thinks that race swapping Robin Hood is less of a move than race swapping a superhero. Dude, it's race swapping. It's a fact. That's it. Pure and simple. It's a race swap. And I acknowledged on my in my review that Robin Hood had many different incarnations. You know, of course, Robin Hood was a fox. I talked about that before in the Disney classic and stuff like that. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about using Robin Hood as some type of metaphor for the black struggle, and that doesn't work. There are so many other different ways that you can do this, but of course, you're closed to that criticism. You know, and this is what I'm talking about. We can't even have that discussion without getting all defensive and, you know, trying to blow somebody off and stuff like that. But, you know, there it is, guys. And you know, for what it's worth, I encourage discussion. All right. I encourage starting discussion. It doesn't necessarily mean that I have to have that discussion, especially giving you the reasons why I'm not doing it now as far as having him on my platform. But I would like to see more discussions about, you know, just like pop culture and whether or not it's good for the community and stuff like that. It's definitely a discussion that needs to be had, at least a concern. Let's just put it like that. If not a discussion, a concern. And that's the reason why I do my videos. It's not necessarily to have this person or that person come onto my channel or whatever. But I just like to have that out there. I just like to put the concept out there. I like to make people think, like I said with my videos, I like to make people talk and discuss. And that's the purpose that I serve. That's the reason why I can say whatever the fuck I want to say, you know, because I don't care about your feelings, bro. Get to talking, get to thinking about these things. If you didn't think about it in the writing room, I bet you will now, one way or another. And that's what I'm here for. But anyway, guys, you can get in the comment section. Let me know about how you feel about what I said. You can like, you can share, you can subscribe. Thank you guys for being around. I'll catch you on the next one. This is The Gospel According to Mark with a C. Rock on.